Well, ladies and gentlemen, here we are. Rest in peace, first off, to Jordan Jones. Man's died trying to save a life out there. Um, the full story is about as crazy as you can get. Um, it's just sad that we've lost somebody that, you know, played in the IFL, a couple years, had their had their time in the spotlight, was just trying to do their job. Yeah, the bar was closing and everything like that. Just trying to do their job and ended up having to lose their life for it. It's unfair. It always sucks to hear that somebody lost their life and so many people were impacted by that fact. Um, there were some cases last year where I did not, start off, you know, videos about people that, had passed in this sphere and I probably should have, but you know, the story was just shocking to really hear, and it's just like, man, it's a messed up world out here, you know. Um, Hopefully his family is finding comfort in the fact that, and I don't know the rest of the story after that. I do know the lead up and what happened. I don't remember what happened after that. I believe they may have caught the guy. I don't know. I don't know. I didn't read the rest of the story that happened, but again, rest in peace, Jordan Jones. You know, it is what it is. All right. So anyway, this week in indoor football, this is episode what 110. Let's start with the NAL first. I mean, let's just start there. I mean, I thought the NAL network was gonna be something cool. Then like 4 to 5 games decided to glitch out. You know, were the streams perfect on any of these games? Absolutely not. Were two of these games the only games that mattered this week? Yes, absolutely. Louisiana unfortunately had multiple bad, attempts where they tried to go for drop kicks or 2 point conversions, and it just failed both times. It just failed, well, more than 2 times because it was like 4 or 5 times that this team tried to fail. Amarillo didn't score until overtime after being up 26-6 at halftime. They didn't score until OT. So, and then the other NAL game that mattered, Pueblo in Colorado. Pueblo got the win. The NAL network was, rather the NAL's socials were just really posting highlights about this game. This was the only game that we're really posting highlights about on IG and Twitter, you know, and of course the tagline. Watch this and the other plays, exciting plays on the NAL network. It's like, bro, can you not advertise right now like that? You have other games going on as well. So I don't understand. Yeah, the other couple preseason games aside from one do not matter. Sioux City, and Omaha easily won theirs. But the one I do want to talk about is, of course, the Dallas Bulls, because of course it was 101-0. Of course, Team Mexico looked inept out there. You know, of course. Why am I not surprised? Why is anybody not surprised that to score zero, to go down, 101-0 and not score? Using more than likely the Columbus Destroyers turf, inflatable walls, which I feel like they just transported that from Wichita. Prime Watts, of course, being the head coach, which is something that I learned a couple days ago. Um, of this team. And of course, a lot of Dallas Prime players were playing in that game. So, I'm just saying, with an attendance of like what, 90 people, 100 people, it was rough. Now you get to see now you get to see those Colorado Spartans play against Dallas Bulls this week in what should be one of the most interesting games of the week of all time, because Paxton Lynch is looking really pretty decent out there. He threw some bad picks though in that game against Pueblo though, you know, where he was just like standing there for like 20 seconds and then threw a bad pick. Of course, Pueblo ran all over them in that pistol formation. I like that. I love that. I love that stuff. Um, of course, State of the League address came a couple days after that, where Brandon Nickard was like, "All right, we kind of need to go over some things. We need to, kind of, get things together to where we, as a league, could get it together." And my question was, last week, can you guys get it together? My question was last week, can you get it together? I know Brandon's going to be on off the wall at some point, but to try and clarify some things, some more things, was just like the transparency, the $30 for the entire season, which I mean ain't bad. I'm not saying paying $30 for the entire season is bad. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying the justification of paying $30 for the entire season is it really worth 3 4 months of football right now. I'm just saying. Um, so yeah, NAL really gets into full gear this week. There might be like one or two more preseason games. Not gonna lie, but I don't wanna. I just don't wanna. I know Louisiana has like two of them, or rather two non-league games. It's just like why? Why do I even care at this point? Why do I even care? And the other thing here, real quick, before I take a short break, add some things to the ticker here, which think I forgot some things. Eau Claire, not looking too good. I know Monroe and Memphis it said stuff about them last week where they've been kind of wishy washy, but Eau Claire has just been kind of, let's sell everything. Let's sell the turf, dasher pads, walls, everything. Let's just sell all that. And Eau Claire, again, I was a bit into what Eau Claire was doing last year, where it was just a lot of behind the scenes issues with ownership and, personnel, just kind of, and I'm not talking like the players, I'm talking the personnel that, runs the day to day operations of the team, and they weren't running the day to day operations correctly to where Eau Claire could, survive and thrive in a league, like the TAL. And it's like TL loses a team, at this rate, that's really the first failure that they'll have in their first 2 years. It's really the first failure. I don't consider Minnesota a failure because they moved up, they moved up. So, I'm just saying. Of course, there's one more thing, I kind of want to talk about really, and that's overnight. The new streaming partner, as FanDuel Sports Network kind of went under. The IFL partners with Overnight to produce the other 55 games, including, national championships for the next 2 seasons. Specifically, I believe Yahoo has the other national championship for this season. Um, but at the same time, this is also a streaming platform that has, you know, pay options, and it's like where there was a deal that was like 40% off earlier today, and it's just like nah, that was not working. you know I think at the end of the day, it's like what, $7 a month for 6 months. That's like $36. That's also not too terrible, but is it worth the justification for less than half the games of the IFL? Some teams may not, have all their games on Yahoo. Some may have, a bunch of their games on Overnight. So it's a slippery slope when it comes to, you know, what things are going to be like as far as Overnight is concerned. But I think, if things go the way they're supposed to go with Overnight, as in nobody really buys it, it's kind of like Vire or Evergreen, or Stadium, where it's like nobody but the diehards are using it, and that's what I feel this is going to be. This is going to be the same thing in that sense. I wish it was Victory Plus, because Victory Plus is just, like it has, and I was talking about this earlier with the guys. I was talking about this earlier, like the name recognition matters. Victory Plus. Everybody knows what Victory Plus is because the stars, run that. They run that. This is another platform like Right Now TV where that didn't pan out for the NAL last year. It's another one of those services where it's like you wanna try and see that it's a good thing, but at the same time we gotta start thinking, hey, this is a platform that is unproven with a platform that is already improving in these leagues already. So I'm just saying, something's got to get thing with the internet. I really don't want to talk about the international travel aspect of a 12 or 10 team. At least like that, I don't really care about the IL right now. I said I was going to talk about it, but I was just like, I kind of want to, not talk about it because the sheer insanity of this weekend, eclipsed and I just don't think it's going to be like the entertainment football. My personal opinion, where it's like you have an Arizona team, you have a Cincinnati team, where it's just like I don't know if this is going to materialize the way y'all think it is because we already have teams in Arizona. We already have a team near. It's like, okay, whatever. Oh yeah, Calvary. The AAF has been an absolute nonsense show right now. They got removed, replaced by the CNY Blue Devils from like road games, stuff like that, because they can't travel, and we all know she wasn't traveling nowhere anyway. So basically, the AIF is still the same as it was, to be honest. But that's just me. That's just me, and that's just my thoughts. Your thoughts on there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff that you know really didn't go in. Again, the other two games in the NAL preseason were like, eh. The GTIFL is, wrapping up. The GIFL is wrapping up. Everything is, we're in March. So, things are getting ahead. The IFL season begins this weekend with a beautiful slate of games, across Yahoo and across overnight. Of course, the NAL continues their second true week of games. I mean,